Welcome to Kennedy Shipyard. What was the first step you took towards this project, you say? Glad you asked. After deciding what I wanted to build, I started to do some internet sleuthing and found a website called TOSgraphics.com. The owner, William Smith, did a tremendous amount of research for and work on the Star Trek Continues sets. One of the many topics on that website was about those rocker switches that were used all over the ship. Now, I've always thought that those old school switches were pretty cool. So I found a group of 10 of those on eBay that was pretty reasonably priced and bought them. Now, these were slightly different than the original ones used on the show. Those were a double switch in one assembly. The ones I got had a pin with a rivet head on one side, and the other side just rolled over. If these were lined up side by side, there was a pretty visible gap between the switches. I didn't want that, so I figured I could reduce that gap by drilling out the pins and lining up all the switches on the same pivot rod. Plus, it would probably make them more secure in the console top as well. I asked my friend Rick, who happens to be a former chief engineer just on merchant marine ships instead of starships, where he would search to find something like that, a catalog, a website. He asked, "What size do you need?" And I guessed, maybe 3 millimeters? He goes into his home office, opens his desk drawer, pulls out this stainless steel rod about 2 feet long and says, "Here, try that." It looked about right, so I took it home, drilled out one of the pins on a switch, and tried it. You see this? You can't get more perfect than that. I sent him this picture and asked, "How did you do that?" He just chuckled and said, "I can't give away all my engineering secrets." By the way, in a great example of life imitating art, he has Scottish ancestry. Go figure. Here's a close-up from the episode The Doomsday Machine. Probably the best view we ever get of these switches. You can see they weren't painted on the sides, or even all the way on the exposed ends. And because mine were different switches with a larger gap, I thought it pretty important to paint the whole rocker while it was disassembled. Now, according to the TOS Graphics website, examples of the original switches were found and the colors verified by Will Smith here. I found equivalents of 6 of the colors, but wanted a bit brighter green, and I thought the original color on the far left switch always appeared almost black. So I tried a couple of darker blues until I found one that looked like it could be acceptable. Here are the colors I ended up going with. Here are 7 of them assembled together while I search for a suitable color on that far left end, and my first test fit in the wooden console top. Later I trimmed that rod and notched the plywood so that they were pushed all the way down flush. On the show, there were bezels around that bank of switches made out of plexiglass, but I thought I could do a pretty good one on my 3D printer. Not bad for a first attempt. The level of the switches is also nice and even with the bezel top as well. Now, I've never seen anything to document this, but I think it's pretty obvious that with 8 switches and 8 displays, that they must correspond to each other. In fact, I checked the episode The Naked Time and found that, yes, the switch positions are the same as the displays being on or off. Now I'll be ready to power up my displays when I finally get everything put together. But first, I have to build a sturdy deck. How am I gonna do that?